The rain fell hard on the metal streets of Zalen 9. The sky was dark, the air smelled like burnt wires and rust. Jace sat under a broken neon sign holding a warm cup that had no liquid inside. He had not eaten in 2 days, and his credits were gone. No ship, no job, and no place to stay. He was just a human among aliens in a world that did not care. Footsteps came close, but they were soft, not the loud steps of boots, but careful and smooth. He looked up and saw her, tall with pale blue skin, glowing eyes and silver robes. The woman held something close to her chest, a small bundle wrapped in shimmer cloth. It moved, and a small hand reached out. "You are human?" she asked, her voice calm but tired. "Yeah." Jace said, his throat dry. "I have a job for you," she said. "I will pay you 10,000 credits now, and 10,000 more when it is done." Jace blinked. He thought it was a dream. No one offered that much for anything legal. "What kind of job?" he asked slowly. "I want you to pretend to be the father of my child. Just for 1 week." Jace stared at her, then at the child. The child looked part alien, part human. Strange soft features, small round eyes, no fur, but not full human either. "Why would you need that?" he asked. She looked around and stepped closer, her voice now a whisper. "There are those who want to take my child away. They say he's an abomination, mixed blood, forbidden. If they think the father is human and present, they might back off it as old law, but it might work." Jace looked at her face. Her eyes were full of fear, but also strength. She was desperate, but not broken. "I do not even know you," he said. "You do not need to know me," she replied. "Just stand by me, speak when needed, and protect him if something happens. I will handle the rest." Jace looked down at the child, the small hand now touching his wrist. The touch was warm, too warm. Like a tiny sun, he felt something deep inside shift, something old and forgotten. He looked back up and nodded. "I will do it." She gave him a small smile and handed him a data stick with the credit code, also a metal badge with strange writing. "Keep this. It marks you as the father in official records. Only for 1 week. It will expire after that." He took the badge and felt its weight. Strange how something fake could feel so real. "My name is Valera," she said. "And this is Leo." Just nodded again and stood up. The rain had stopped, but the street still glowed. Wet lights from signs above reflected in puddles. The world looked new and dangerous as they started to walk together. A loud sound came from behind, a sharp blast followed by shouting. Valera grabbed Leo and pulled Jace behind a metal cart. Blaster shots hit the wall nearby. Someone was shooting at them. Jace peeked out and saw 2 masked figures with red visors. They moved fast and silent, holding high-tech rifles. "Who are they?" he asked. "Hunters," she said, "sent by the council to take my child. They do not care about laws, only orders." Jace pulled out a small shock pistol from his coat. It was old, but charged. He had kept it hidden for days, hoping to sell it later. Now it would be used. He fired once, hitting one attacker in the leg. The figure fell and screamed. The second moved behind cover and returned fire. Valera touched the wall and pressed something. A secret panel opened, revealing a narrow tunnel. "This way," she said. "Go now." Just nodded and ran inside, holding Leo close. Valera followed and closed the door behind them. Darkness filled the space, but lights blinked on low and soft. They moved fast through the tunnel. Leo made no sound, but held Jace tight, his small arms around Jace's neck. After what felt like forever, they reached a hidden chamber with old supplies and sleeping mats. "We will rest here for tonight." Valera said. Jace sat down, holding Leo in his lap. The child finally looked up and smiled. The smile was strange but warm. "Thank you for coming," he said. Jace froze. The voice was soft but too clear for a child so young. Valera looked shocked too. Leo never spoke before, not in words, not like that. Jace stared at the child and then at Valera. "What is he really?" Valera took a breath and looked away. "You will know soon enough." Jace looked at the sleeping child and felt it again. The strange warmth, the feeling that his life had just changed forever. He was not sure what he had stepped into, but he knew this was no normal job, and this was no normal child, and now there was no turning back. Sound of humming engines filled the air as Jace sat quietly beside Valera inside the stolen sky skimmer, its walls shaking slightly with every turn of the underground tunnel above them. The bounty hunters would be searching now, scanners sweeping the city streets, guards alerted, credits offered for their capture, and still no one knew what Leo truly was. Leo sat between them, not moving, not crying, just watching, his fingers glowing faintly with a light that pulsed like a heartbeat. It made Jace nervous, but he said nothing. The air inside the skimmer felt tight and warm, like something heavy pressed down on all of them. Valera kept her eyes on the front screen, her hands steady as she piloted the craft deeper into the transport pipes that led out of the city. "Where are we going?" Jace asked, his voice low, as if afraid the ship might listen. "To the ruins," she answered. "An old research base left behind after the war. No one goes there anymore. No patrols, no trackers. We will be safe for a while." "Why was that child glowing?" Jace asked again, not knowing if he truly wanted the answer. Valera looked at him, her eyes calm but tired. "He is evolving," she said, soft and strange. "He is becoming more than they expected, more than I expected." Jace repeated. "You mean he was planned not by me?" Valera replied. "I only wanted a child of peace, a life without war or orders or cages, but they made something else, something bigger." Leo looked up, then his voice clear, like it had come from a place beyond time. "I see the machines waking. I see the sky burning. I see stars crying. I see him holding my hand." Jace froze. Those words were not from a child, not even from a grown man. They felt like prophecy, like something ancient speaking through young lips. Valera touched Leo's shoulder gently and whispered, "Enough, now rest." The boy closed his eyes and leaned against Jace, who felt a sudden wave of warmth, like sunlight on cold skin. It made his chest tighten, made him remember something old, something broken, and something healing. Skimmer burst through the last gate of the pipe network and rose into open space. The stars glittered like dust on dark velvet. The remains of old ships floated in silence around them, debris from forgotten battles and lost causes. Research station appeared ahead, gray and silent, a large round shell floating above a cracked moon, its lights long dead, its towers broken like old bones. Jace stared at it, wondering how it still floated at Valera docked the skimmer in the old bay and opened the hatch. Stale air rushed in, but it was safe, breathable. They stepped out together, Jace holding Leo, while Valera checked the scanners for movement. There was none, just silence and dust. They moved through empty halls, past shattered screens and rusted doors. Lights flickered dimly as backup power slowly awoke, like a ghost rising from deep sleep. "This was once a place of hope," Valera said. "They studied peaceful tech here, farming bio-water. Clean air, no weapons, but war came anyway, and they left it to rot." Just looked at the walls covered in old writing symbols from many races. Hope, unity, balance, all of it faded and forgotten. Now just another relic in the dark. They found a room with soft floors and working locks. Jace laid Leo down and covered him with a warm blanket. The boy curled up and slept without a sound. "What do they want with him?" Jace asked, turning to Valera. "Everything," she said. "They want to use him, control him, or kill him if they cannot. He is too rare, too powerful, too unknown, and they fear what they cannot own." "Who is they?" Jace asked again. "The council, the corporations, the old races hiding behind laws and peace talks, but moving pieces in the shadows. They see Leo as a weapon or a threat, or both. And me." Jace said, "Why me? Why did you choose me?" Valera looked at him a long moment, then spoke. "You were part of Project Helix, a test subject with strong genes. Your record was erased after the collapse, but I found traces. You were one of the few humans compatible with cross-species design. Your blood is part of him." Jace felt the floor move beneath him, like falling without end. He wanted to scream or run, but Leo shifted in his sleep and reached out again. His hand touched Jace's arm, and suddenly all that fear melted into something calm. "Something really was just a mechanic," he said. "I fixed old engines, not destiny. Destiny does not care what you think." Valera said. "It just moves." Alarms screamed through the station, then high and loud motion sensors triggered, red lights flashing across the walls. "They found us," Jace said, grabbing Leo quickly. "No," Valera said. "Not them, something else." She pulled out a small orb and threw it in the air. It floated and spun, creating a shield bubble around the child. Jace stood in front of it while Valera ran to the door, weapon drawn. The hallway outside was full of shadows. But not from soldiers, not from men. Something was moving in the dark. Something large and silent. Jace saw glowing eyes, no faces, just light and shape. What are they? He shouted. Guardians, Valera said. Ancient machines from the war, meant to protect this place, but they were broken mad. They attack all living things. Then why did they stop? Jace asked. Valera stared at the machines, who now stood still, their heads tilted toward Leo. Because he woke them. Jace looked at Leo, now standing inside the bubble, his eyes glowing like stars, and the machines bowed slowly as if greeting a king. Valera whispered, "He is not just a child, he is the key." The cold light from the ceiling hummed low as Jace sat against the wall, his eyes fixed on the small boy standing at the center of the room. Leo was not moving, just staring at the silent machines around him. The guardians who once attacked everything that moved were now still as statues, their glowing eyes locked on the child, as if waiting for his command. Valera placed her hand on the panel and sealed the door behind them. Her body tense, her face unreadable. She walked slowly toward Jace, holding something wrapped in an old cloth. He looked up and saw a clear medical tablet, blinking softly with ancient data streams scrolling across it in alien and human languages. "What is that?" he asked, his voice quieter than before. "The truth," she said, and handed it to him. Jace touched the surface, and the screen lit up. A profile appeared, his own face, younger, less tired, marked with a tag code from a program he thought was erased. Project Helix, Subject 12, Genetic Enhancement Phase 3, Cross-Compatibility. Successful mental stability, untested. All those words meant little to him back then. Now they felt like chains. "That is your file," Valera said. "Your blood was strong enough to blend with mine when they took samples from Helix before it collapsed. They used them to make Leo without telling me. They said he would be safe, normal. But he is not. He is more than both of you." Jace tried to breathe, but the air felt thin. He had always believed his time in the program had no meaning, just another failed military idea. Now he saw the result, standing quietly in the room, glowing with a power that made machines bow and air feel alive. "Why me?" he asked again. "Not just about the science, but the reason behind it all. Because you are the only one who would care," she said softly. "I searched many files, but you showed something different. You did not hurt anyone in Helix. You protected the others. You ran when they turned dark. That is why I trusted you, even if you did not know." It just looked at Leo, the boy, still watching the machines without fear, his hands glowing softly. He reached up and the air shimmered slightly around his fingers like waves moving through water. "What is he becoming?" Jace asked. "A bridge," Valera said. "A living link between races, between minds, between old enemies. If he survives and grows, he could end wars just by speaking, just by existing. Or he could burn everything down." Leo turned then and walked toward Jace. He stopped a few steps away and reached into the cloth of his robe, pulling out something round and bright. It floated into the air and expanded, showing a star map filled with shifting points. "I see where we must go," the boy said, his voice calm. "The place of first light, the cradle of minds, the place they tried to erase." Valera moved closer, her eyes wide. "How do you know that?" "Leo, the machines told me," he said, and pointed at the silent guardians. "They are old, but they remember." Suddenly, the map blinked and focused on a single location, a dead world marked forbidden in council records, lost to history. "Its name was Orlin Prime. That is where I was made," Leo said. "That is where it began." Jace stood slowly and looked at the map, then at Valera. She nodded, once her face pale. "We were never meant to go back there," she said. "But we must." Before they could move, the alarm sounded again. But this time it was not from the station. It came from the orbit above. Something big had arrived. A shadow crossed the stars, and Jace ran to the window to see Ida cruiser, dark and marked with council symbols, had entered orbit, its engines glowing red, weapons hot and ready. They must have tracked the burst from the star map or the Guardian reactivation. Either way, they were not here to talk. "We have to leave now," Jace said, grabbing Leo and moving fast toward the dock. The Guardians stepped aside, clearing the way like soldiers obeying their king. Valera followed, activating the last ship in the bay, an old scout runner, barely flying but fast enough. They entered the ship and lifted off. the station falling away behind them as lights flared from the enemy cruiser. The first shot missed, but the next would not. Leo sat calmly between them and reached out to the controls. The ship systems blinked and then glowed with new energy. Faster than possible, the engines roared and they vanished into slipstream amid the quiet tunnel of faster-than-light travel. Jace leaned back and breathed for the first time in hours. Leo closed his eyes and rested again, glowing softly. "You knew this would happen," Jace said, looking at Valera. "He knew something would happen," she replied. "But not this, not him, not Yuge. Is not just my child," Jace said slowly. "He is ours." Valera turned and looked at him for a long time, then nodded. "Yes," she said, "not by blood, not by law, but by choice. And now we are all being hunted because of it," Jace said with a tired smile. "Yes," Valera said, "but we are not running anymore. We are going home." The stars outside shifted like streaks of fire as the ship moved through slipstream. Silence filled the cockpit, but inside Jace felt a storm rising. Something heavy was waiting ahead, and he could feel it in his bones. Valera sat by the controls, checking navigation paths, while Leo slept with his head on Jace's arm, glowing softly like always. They were close to a supply world, now a small neutral station called Ferrix Point, where no flags flew and no laws were followed. Jace knew someone there, an old contact, who owed him favors and silence. They would stop only for fuel, food, and parts, nothing more, just in and out without being noticed. As the ship landed on the dusty pad, the sound of grinding metal filled the air. The station looked like it had not been cleaned in years. Broken signs flickering, garbage drifting in low gravity, and dozens of eyes watching from the shadows. Valera stayed on the ship with Leo while Jace walked toward the main dome, his coat tight and his hand near his belt where a blade was hidden, just in case. Inside the station bar, he found him, old gray, missing one eye and still smiling like he owned a galaxy. His name was Tirik, once a smuggler, now just a ghost with too many secrets. "Jace, old friend," the man said, standing with open arms. "I thought you were dead or worse, a citizen. I need supplies." Jace said, "No jokes, no delay, just credits for fuel and new flight code." Estarek nodded slowly and waved him to sit. "I can do that," he said, "but first tell me who the blue woman is." And the boy with the eyes like fire, Jace froze, his fingers tightening. He had said nothing about them. No one was supposed to know. Word moves fast. Tirik said, "Faster than ship. Someone put a price on your head, and that child worth more than a moon colony, alive or dead." Jace stood, but it was too late. Tirik had already drawn the small blaster hidden in his coat, pointing it at his chest, eyes cold and voice quiet. "You brought trouble here, and that is fine. Business is business, but I cannot let you walk away, not with what you are carrying." Jace raised his hand slowly, but his mind raced. He had trusted Tirik once long ago, but trust was poison in places like this. "Listen to me," he said. "That child is not what they say. He is more than data, more than profit. He is a key to peace, maybe to survival." Tirik laughed. "Peace never paid my bills, Jace. You know that." From behind the door, two others entered, both armed, both silent. They blocked the exit and waited for the order to shoot or capture. Jace moved fast, too fast for old eyes. He grabbed the edge of the table, flipped it toward Tirik, and drew his own blade, charging low and sharp. His elbow struck the blaster away, and the blade sliced through the nearest thug blaster. Fire lit the room. One shot grazed his arm, burning pain, sharp and hot, but he kept moving. Dropped the second attacker with a kick to the head and turned toward Tirik, who now begged with hands raised. "Do not do this, Jace. I can still help you. I can give you names, routes, anything you want." Jace stared at him, the man who once saved his life, now ready to sell it away for credits and lies. "No, you cannot," Jace said, and left him alive, but bleeding as he ran back toward the ship. Alarms already ringing through the station. Valera met him at the ramp, weapon drawn, her eyes cold. "What happened?" she asked. "Betrayal." He said, "They knew everything. We need to leave now." She said, "The cruiser is already near. They tracked us." Again Jace helped her lift Leo back into the ship, the boy still asleep, but glowing brighter now, as if sensing danger even in dreams. The engines roared and they lifted off as blasts tore through the docking bay. Lights shattered, metal broke apart, and behind them the station began to fall into chaos. They escaped again, but barely moving through asteroid fields and solar winds trying to lose. The hunter ship now chasing them across the stars. Inside the ship, Jace wrapped his arm with cloth, blood dripping slowly, while Valera flew in silence, her face hard, her eyes ready, trusted him. Jace said softly, "I thought he was better than this." "Always choose the easy path," she said, "credits over people, silence over truth." "But not us," Jace said, looking at Leo, who now opened his eyes and stared at the stars, as if seeing more than space, as if seeing destiny. "He is waking again," Valera said. "His mind is growing faster than we can follow." Jace looked into the boy's glowing eyes and felt something deep and strange, like a voice calling from inside himself, like something new being born. "We cannot run forever," he said. "Sooner or later we must fight." Valera nodded. "I know, and when that time comes, we must stand together, not as fake family, not as fugitives, but as what we truly are." "And what is that?" Jace asked, though he already knew the answer. She looked at Leo and said, "We are the future." The air around the dark moon of Zareth No was cold and filled with static, the kind that made your skin crawl and your teeth ache. The sky above shimmered with blue, clouds of charged gas hiding the sun and making everything below feel like a nightmare. The prison floated in the middle of that storm, a massive cube of black steel wrapped in shields and silence. Valera stood in front of the console, staring at the layout of the prison halls. Her hands moved fast across the keys, unlocking maps and vent paths. Her face showed no fear, only focus. Beside her, Jace waited with Leo strapped gently to his back, the child silent, his eyes half closed, his light dimmed to avoid detection. "This is madness," Jace whispered. "We are breaking into a High Council prison filled with killers and soldiers with nothing but a broken ship and a child." Valera replied without turning, "We are not breaking in to free the prisoners, only one. I know where she is and how to reach her." "Who is she?" Jace asked. "My sister," Valera said quietly. "She knows the truth about the child and the war. She was captured, trying to protect others. They wiped her from records. But I traced the signal. I know she is alive." Jace looked through the window at the prison as their stolen ship docked under a fake cargo ID. Once they entered, there would be no turning back. The alarms would trigger the moment they moved off the approved path, and then it would become a war zone. The doors opened with a hiss, and the smell of recycled air and oil filled the corridor. Two guards glanced their way but said nothing, just scanned the codes and turned back to their post. Valera led the way, her walk steady and confident, like she belonged here. Jace followed, each step tight with nerves, his hand resting near the hidden pulse blade strapped to his leg. Leo pressed his small hands against Jace's back and whispered something that sounded like a warning, but it was too soft to hear. They passed 2 checkpoints, then turned down a service tunnel crawling with pipes and steam. The walls were wet and cracked from age and neglect. Valera stopped near a sealed panel and opened it with a tool hidden in her sleeve. Wires sparked, then settled, and the wall shifted, revealing a narrow maintenance shaft. Inside was tight and full of dust. Jace crawled through first, holding Leo tight, his body scraping against the metal. Valera came behind, sealing the wall again. Behind her, the only sound was their breath and the soft hum of the prison core deep below. After what felt like hours, they dropped into a small chamber full of cables and old tools. Valera moved to a side panel and tapped a code. The lights flickered, then a hidden door opened, showing the old forgotten hallway once used by engineers during construction. "She is in cell block E," Valera said, "but we have to reach the command room first to cut power to the turrets and override the alarms." Jace nodded and followed her down the hallway, each corner a new danger, each sound a possible death. Above them, guards walked and drones scanned, but below in the old halls they moved like shadows. The command room was small and dark, full of dead screens and broken chairs. Valera powered it up and started working, her hands flying across the controls. Jace watched the door, ready for anything. The lights turned red, the alarm screamed, and the doors above slammed shut. Valera looked at Jace and said, "I had to trigger the lockdown to buy time. We have 10 minutes before reinforcements arrive." "Go "To the cell block now. I will catch up. I am not leaving you," Jay said. "You must," she said. "He needs you now. Go." Just hesitated, then turned and ran down the path she opened. Leo held tight, his breath fast but calm, as if he knew the way already. The cell block was cold and lined with thick doors, most dark and silent, some filled with voices crying or singing or screaming. Jace found the number Valera gave him and entered the code. The door slid open, revealing a tall alien woman chained to the wall. Her face bruised but her eyes bright with fire. "Are you Valera's sister?" he asked. She said, "Who are you?" "A friend," he replied, and cut her chains the moment she stood. The ground shook, alarms changed tone, and something exploded above them. "We are out of time," she said. "Follow me." They moved fast through old tunnels and service ducts, reaching the lower bay where the ship waited. Valera arrived seconds later, wounded but smiling. "You made it," she said, and hugged her sister. The reunion short and filled with silent emotion. The council forces were closing in, but the ship lifted just in time, slipping through the shields with a final burst. The chase would continue, but for now they were free inside the ship. Leo sat in the center of the floor, glowing. Again, his hands raised the wounded parts of the ship, healing themselves, wires weaving back together, lights returning with strange energy. Valera, his sister, stared in awe and whispered, "He is the spark." Jace looked at the boy and said, "He is more than that. He is hope." The ship floated in quiet space above the old star of Volunteer, its light soft and golden, casting warm colors across the control room. Jace stood near the window, watching the endless void, while Leo sat in the center of the floor. Eyes closed, hands open, glowing with gentle waves of energy. Valera and her sister spoke in whispers near the navigation table, voices low and full of questions. Something inside Leo had changed since the prison escape. He had not spoken much, but strange things kept happening. Doors opened before they touched them. Engines worked without fuel, lights bent to his will, and now even the stars seemed to respond when he looked up at them. Valera placed a data chip on the table, showing a map filled with hidden symbols. Leo had drawn them in his sleep, circles, lines, stars, and words in languages older than memory. Her sister stared at the symbols with wide eyes, her fingers tracing one shape again and again. "This is the mark of the origin world," she said. "The forbidden place where it all began, the one they buried in records and sealed from maps." Arellen Prime, Jace said quietly. The name tasted cold on his tongue. "Yes," Valera replied, "that is where they fear to look, because that is where truth lives. They called it a myth, a cursed world, but it is real, and it is calling him." Leo opened his eyes and stood slowly, his voice calm and clear. "We must go. The gate will open only for me, and if we do not reach it soon, the others will close it forever." Jace looked at the boy, then at Valera. He could see fear in her eyes, not for herself, but for Leo. The path ahead was full of dangers, unknown and ancient. "We will go," Jace said, his voice firm. "We came this far, we cannot stop now." Ship changed course and moved through the edge of the dead zones, past stars that had no names and ruins of stations long lost to time. The silence grew deeper, and even light seemed slower. Finally they reached the orbit of Orlin Prime, a world covered in clouds of blue and gold, with rivers of light running across its surface like veins of a living being. The ship trembled as it approached, and the screens blinked with warnings. Unknown frequency, unknown energy, unknown life signs. Valera's sister whispered, "He is." Waking, Leo stepped forward and touched the console without speaking. The ship obeyed him, dropping slowly through the sky and landing near a mountain of crystal that pulsed with soundless music. They stepped out together, Jace holding a scanner that showed nothing. The machines could not understand the place. Leo walked ahead, his feet not touching the ground, his body glowing brighter than ever. Them the land responded. Flowers opened, air shimmered, colors changed, trees bowed in strange lights, moved like spirits dancing in joy or fear. At the base of the mountain stood a gate made of stone and light, covered in symbols matching the drawings from Leo's sleep. He raised his hand, and the gate opened slowly, revealing a path that led into the heart of the mountain. They followed him inside, passing halls of memory carved with visions of stars, People, machines, and wars. Each wall told a story of unity, then betrayal, then silence, and then a new beginning. At the center of the mountain stood a chamber filled with floating crystals, spinning around a tall seat of light. Leo stepped forward and sat without hesitation. The crystals stopped spinning and focused on him, beams of light scanning his body, and a voice filled the chamber. Not from speakers, but from the air itself. You are the bridge, the child of prophecy, born of two, and made for all. The cycle ends with you, or begins again. Jace looked around, trying to find the source of the voice, but saw nothing, only light and sound, and energy moving like a storm held in chains. Valera stepped forward and asked what must he do. The voice replied he must choose peace or power, life or rule, self or sacrifice. If he chooses truth, the path opens. If he chooses fear, the stars will fall. Leo looked at Jace, then at Valera, and then at the mountain itself. He spoke without fear. I choose them. Crystals shattered into light and entered his body, his eyes now filled with galaxies, his voice deeper and softer and stronger. I see now, I remember. I am not just a child. I am memory. I am future. I am the will of those who dreamed of more. Chamber shook, the mountain hummed, the sky outside turned gold. The whole world seemed to breathe, as if life had returned after endless sleep. Jace held Valera's hand and whispered, he is becoming something else, something greater. Not greater, Valera said simply, something needed. Leo stood and walked toward them, his light dimming to a soft glow. Again he looked tired but calm, the mountain behind him now silent. Its duty done, we must return, he said. They are coming. Jace nodded and led them back to the ship. The world behind them now changed, glowing softly under stars that felt warmer than before. As they left orbit, the long-range scanner picked up movement. Dozens of council ships closing in, weapons ready, voices cold. They do not want peace, Valera's sister said. They want silence. Then we will speak louder, Jace said, and took Leo's hand as the stars ahead opened, like doors waiting to be walked through. The stars burned like fire as the ship flew through the edge of known space behind them. The golden glow of Orlin Prime still flickered in the distance ahead. A dark wall of council warships waited in silence, engines quiet, weapons hot. The moment of truth had come. No more hiding, no more running, no more time for fear. Jace stood at the center of the ship bridge, his hand resting on Leo's shoulder. The child's glow had faded to a soft pulse, steady like a heartbeat, but the power inside him remained deep and calm like a sea before the storm. Valera stood beside the control panel, her eyes scanning every ship code, every signal, every movement. They are forming a block, she said. No path through, no path around. They want us to surrender or burn. Then they will have to hear us, Jace replied, his voice steady. Valera's sister activated the comm system, her voice clear across the channels. This is not an act of war. This is a message of peace we carry. The bridge child, the one spoken of in your own forbidden records. If you destroy us, you destroy your last chance to unite what was broken. The only answer was silence. Then a voice, sharp, cold, old. This is High Commander Thalos. Surrender the child, or be erased. There will be no second warning. Leo stepped forward and spoke, not with fear, but with truth. I am not yours to own. I am not a weapon. I am not your fear made flesh. I am choice, and I have chosen. The sky above the ships began to shimmer, strange colors moving across the stars like ripples in glass. Leo raised his hands and the ship pulsed with his energy shields, turned gold, engines hummed like music. Systems no longer obeyed buttons or screens. They obeyed thought. They obeyed him. One of the warships powered down, weapons dropping, lights turning blue. Another followed, then another. Commanders began shouting orders, but their ships no longer listened. The crews inside, confused, afraid, and awakening. They feel it, Jace said. They know he is real, but not all would change. Thalos gave the final order, fire. Everything erased them now. Blinding light filled the void. A dozen missiles flew toward them, plasma beams ripping through the dark. Valera shouted and tried to move the ship, but it was too fast. Leo did not flinch. He stepped forward, opened his arms, and closed his eyes. The light bent around him. Missiles stopped in the air. Plasma beams vanished. Like dust in wind, time itself paused, then shattered as Leo whispered one word. Enough. Silence fell again, and when it lifted, the enemy ships were still half powered down, half confused. Their commanders frozen, their weapons cold. A new signal came across the system, not from the council, not from the warships, but from the people on board, crew members who had seen, who had felt, who had changed. One by one, messages began to appear, not orders, not threats, but questions. Who's the boy? What is this feeling? Is peace possible again? Leo sat down, his body tired, his light dimming further. Jace caught him before he fell and held him close like a father holding a newborn. Not a weapon, not a prophecy, not a tool, just a child. You did it, Jace said softly. You stopped them. Leo looked up, weak but smiling. I only reminded them what they forgot. Valera touched Jace's arm and whispered, he is fading. He used too much. We need to help him. There is no machine for this, Jace replied, only love. He carried Leo to the center of the ship and sat with him, arms around him, voice gentle. You are not alone. You never were. You are mine. Not by blood, not by code, but by heart and choice and promise. Leo's body stopped glowing, but his breath returned slow and steady, his small hand gripping Jace's shirt, not out of fear, but comfort. The ships outside pulled back, a wide channel opened through the fleet, and a new voice filled the channel, softer, younger. We do not understand, but we will not fight. This is not war. This is something new. Let it begin. Valera watched the stars clear ahead and said they listened, not all, but enough. Jace nodded, then looked at Leo, who now slept quietly for the first time in peace. The universe will remember this day, Valera's sister said. Not as a battle, but as a beginning. Jace looked at them both, then out into the stars, and said, then let's go show them what comes next. The ship moved forward slowly, past the silent warships, past the cold hands of fear, into the unknown, with a child who changed fate and a father who chose love over silence.